It is officially playoff time. We've got round 2 action in Class 8-man again. This is the 8-man picks. We're going to be going game by game, picking each game. I got some graphics for you guys to kind of help us walk through it a little better than last time. Just so many games last week. I couldn't really do that. But now we're down to 16 teams. I might as well pull up our graphic and show you where we are right now. Again, 16 teams remain. You win your pod, and you're off to Cedar Falls. You'll be reseeded once we get to the Dome. But again, 4 pods, A, B, C, D. Each class is set up like this, so we're all on level playing field right now. And our ranker went through and picked each game and gave me his picks. I went through, added all to a graphic, and we are ready to go. So again, be sure to like this video, comment, agree, disagree, all that good stuff. We appreciate you guys liking these. Our views have just gone up and up, and we appreciate that. 8-man fans, you guys have shown us a ton of love, and again, we appreciate that here at iFootball, trying to bring you guys some new stuff. But before we get to the rankings, we got to show how our ranker did last week, and he did very well. 14-2 last Friday, picking the 8-man games. Pretty good, if I got to say so myself. The top 14 teams in iFootball's final regular season rankings advanced to the second round. Again, our ranker went 14-2. The 4 pods, he says, appear to be fairly evenly split up, having 2 pods of 4 ranked teams and 2 pods with 3 ranked teams. So let's move to Pod A, where we start. Pod A, Moravia, Winfield Mount Union, and then Waco and Don Bosco. These 4 teams have been destined for the round of 16 all season, with all of them inside the top 12 of our preseason rankings. And we're going to start off with this top matchup. If it goes how it should just pop up with our winner, and I'll explain it. So Moravia, Winfield Mount Union. Our ranker has Winfield Mount Union. One team has been a constant all season, and it's Winfield Mount Union. These teams have 2 common opponents, though, that we can use as a good starting point of what this matchup might look like. They both played Belle Plaine and Montezuma. Moravia beat Montezuma by 2 and Belle Plaine by 7. Winfield Mount Union beat Montezuma by 50 and Belle Plaine by 56. So again, that's not to go off everything, but that shows a lot, and I think that was enough for our ranker to confidently pick the number 1 team to beat the number 14 team in our iFootball polls. Moving on to the next game, Waco and Don Bosco. This is number 8, versus number 10 in our poll, and our ranker has got Don Bosco, the Dons. 2 teams whose lone loss come to teams that were ranked number 1 at the time. Another similarity is both teams like to spread the workload out a bit, which you don't always see in 8-man. Both teams splitting the bulk of the carries amongst 3 players. And our ranker does pick Don Bosco in this one. And again, that means these 2 teams, Winfield Mount Union and Don Bosco, would square off to go to the Dome. Moving on, though, we got more pods to cover. Pod B, we've got, let's see here. None of these pods are easy, but you maybe look at this one as the best chance for a lower-ranked team to get into the Dome, with only 1 top 5 team and the other 2 ranked teams being 9 and 11. Again, you got unranked Exira at number 5 Bedford, and you've got Lennox, who's number 9, at number 11 Audubon. So starting with Exira, EHK, and Bedford. Only 5 teams have less passing yards on the season than Bedford, and the other side you have Exira, who is second in passing yards among the 16 teams remaining, behind only Moravia. Having said that, Bedford has had little trouble with Moravia the first week of the season, winning 63-20, allowing 154 passing yards. Bedford has just been another constant at the top of our polls all season long, and that is enough for our ranker to pick the Bulldogs in that one. Moving on to Lennox at Audubon. Lennox only loss was to number 5 Bedford by 2 scores. Audubon's only loss is to number 2 Cam by a 30-point margin. That was within 2 scores at halftime. This could very well be 2 teams under the radar, getting hot at the right time. Our ranker is going with the road team. The road team, Lennox, although they are ranked higher in our iFootball poll, they will be heading to Audubon, but our ranker nevertheless likes Lennox to win this one. Moving on to Pod C, our third of 4, we have West Bend Mallard 7-2 at number 2 Cam, who's 9-0, and we have number 4 Remsen St. Mary's, who's 9-0, heading to number 13 Bishop Garrigan, who's 8-1. Most would say this is kind of the pot of death with number 2 and number 4 teams in it, and it would be hard to argue against that. Although the other 2 teams are outside the top 12, Bishop Garrigan is a district champ, and West Bend's only 2 losses are to Ooh, sorry. We're two of the teams inside this pod, Remsen and Bishop Garrigan. Starting off with that top matchup, West Bend Mallard at Camp. Probably the game with the largest spread on paper in the second round. Cam hasn't let a team get inside of 3 scores, but a few of those were total blowouts. West Bend was sitting at 1-2 3 weeks in with the chance of their season going completely off the rails, but they were able to lock in and reel off 6 straight to make it this far. Although West Bend Mallard has had a great year, you can assume our ranker is going with the Cougars. Speaker, just too much to handle. He's having an incredible year, and Cam is kind of destined, it feels like, to at least make the sub-state finals. Moving on, though, number 4 team going on the road at the number 13 team. Some might be a little shocked to see the undefeated champ going on the road so early, especially to a one-loss team. But with the current format, your non-district losses hold little weight if you go on and win the district title. And from there, it's just mostly who comes first alphabetically this year. It rotates from last alphabetically to first year after year. So Remsen St. Mary is just kind of on the wrong side of the coin flip this year, but nevertheless, they will be going on the road. Remsen made it through the season unscathed, but they did have a few tight, low-scoring games. Garrigan dropped an opening week game, but hasn't looked back since. Really, a battle of two teams getting hot at the right time, and our ranker is going with the reigning state champions, the Remsen St. Mary's Hawks. That would set up a Remsen and Cam matchup to go to the Dome. That would be number 4 versus number 2 in our poll, which would be extremely, extremely interesting. Tons of fireworks if that matchup does come to fruition. Moving on to Pod D, though, and as you can see, I obviously exported it wrong. Our ranker does have Clarksville beating Iowa Valley, but I will talk about it still. Pod D, 2 teams that have been ranked all year in Gladbrook and Central City. The lone third place district finisher in Iowa Valley, and a team that shot up the rankings all season in Clarksville. Again, starting with this number 12 Iowa Valley at number 3 Clarksville. Again, Clarksville is the only team to be 10-0 because they did play a week 0 game. But Iowa Valley comes in with the most losses in this pod with 2, but they also come from the only district to advance 3 teams into the second round between them, Waco, and Winfield Mount Union. So really tough district that Iowa Valley has played in all year. Clarksville is the most run-heavy team in 8-man with 400 more rushing yards than the next closest team. Iowa Valley is 4th on that list, though. Expect the ball to stay on the ground a lot on Friday night, and as you can see, our ranker did pick Clarksville. Again, just a team that's getting hot. They have that huge win over Gladbrook Rhinebeck a few weeks ago, and really just hard to pick against them right now at this point in the year. Moving on to the bottom matchup, though, Gladbrook Rhinebeck, Central City, probably the best matchup across the board here, number 6 at number 7. And it's actually a matchup between our preseason ranked number 1 and number 2 teams. Again, Central City hasn't lost since that week 1 fall to Winfield Mount Union, and Gladbrook Rhinebeck obviously was almost a wire-to-wire number 1 until they lost to Clarksville in like week 6, kind of middle of the year. But nevertheless, both teams are just one blemish, and kind of interesting that the preseason number 1 and number 2 teams meet right here. Both teams like to share the carries and receptions, but Gladbrook Rhinebeck has almost twice as many passing attempts as Central City. Both only lost the top 3 ranked district champs, as I said. Our ranker, drum roll please, because this one is a close one. He is going with the Rebels, Gladbrook Rhinebeck. So that would set up a Gladbrook Rhinebeck and Clarksville matchup, a rematch. Gladbrook Rhinebeck would be looking to avenge their one loss throughout the season. So again, that's what we got. All 4 pods. We just went through and ranked them all. We hope you enjoyed that. 8 minutes in and out quick. Got some explanation for you guys, and really just trying to bring you something new. We'll be doing the same thing next week with the sub-state games, going a little bit more in depth. But we got all 7 classes of playoff predictions. So if you have some rooting interest across a different class, be sure to go check those out. Like those videos, share them to your teammates, to your parents, so they can watch this, whether we picked your team or not. We do appreciate you guys for tuning in. And again, we're just trying to provide something new that no one else is doing. So here at IF Football, that's our main goal, to try and provide some unique entertainment for you guys. But Class 8-man fans, be sure to check out the rest of our videos, and I'll catch you guys next week for the sub-state finals.